Well, this is what the port looked like back in Jamaica in 1945, the finger piers. At that time, ships basically just need a little space, a little wooden plank to offload the bananas, the sugar, and the big shoes that we get from England. Right? So you call them the finger piers. A ship would spend long enough in port, 3 to 4 months sometimes, offloading and loading cargo, that the crew had enough time to go ashore, get married, start a family, divorce before the ship sailed. So ladies and gentlemen, let me just quickly focus on some transition. At that time, the port was looking, Victoria Pier looking across to the airport, the finger pier sticking out. Because if you had the ships coming alongside, for 3 to 4 months you could not accommodate many ships. So at some stage, in the Kingston Harbor, as county, we had over 80 ships at one time. So this was a significant port. Then we had a transition when the box came, that metal box. You realize what happened? You couldn't land the metal box on those wooden pier. It's the last you would see it. They would disappear in the water. So then we had the shift. This was the first container ship that came to Jamaica. 1966, the container was invented in 1956. 10 years after, this was a leading edge port. At this time, the ship would drop the bow of the ship, the front, and then the container drives off. That was in 1966 when a new port facility was built on Newport West. That was another transition. Then we went to a further transition where all you needed for ports back then was a big shed to store the banana and the sugar, and the ship would be close to it. The next transition was the containers themselves would now be lifted off by shore crane. So the containers themselves became a shed. You no longer needed the sheds. You now have a different structure. That was another transition. Then, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to logistics now. See, I'm moving very fast. Now, this, just to show you, Katalyxt Dome Rep, a type of port facility, is another shift in the market. Because we developed a very large trans-shipment port, one of the largest in the region. And in fact, I heard a guest speaker talking about those waves. The waves affect shipping. Very big time. And in fact, this in Katalyxt at the time, Rio Haino port is over here. The port was landlocked in the city. Now there's another transition, that you no longer want a port to just take off a few containers. Because what you're finding, 9 out of every 10 containers that come to Jamaica have no export to go back. So what are you going to do? It becomes a very expensive thing to be shifting 90% empty containers that have to go back through the Panama Canal, which is a toll road actually. So it's not a good proposition. So now a new port facility is required because you don't have the space to expand. Now you need a port surrounded by thousands of acres that you can now have value-added economic zone within the same space at the port. And this is what Jamaica now needs to transition to. The transshipment business is dead. Can I repeat that? So us having a transshipment port cannot help us going into the future. All right. Here we go now. Quickly, this is an aerial photo of the Kingston Container Terminal. Here is a container port. Here's Kingston Wharves here, which you see the sheds, some of them are still there, but here's a full containerized port that you see the containers themselves become the shed. But the whole idea here is Fort Augusta Prison. Any graduates? All right. Well, the whole idea, when you dredge the channel, because the bigger the ship, the heavier they become, they need more water to float, so they have to dredge. Then you dredge the channel, you create more land space. But this is not enough to take us into a global logistics hub. We now need to move from a container terminal or from a transshipment terminal or port to now a gateway port. And I'm going to show you quickly as a case study what London had to do to transition. Just before I do that, because it's going to take 8 minutes. So here is Cuba. This is Havana port, all landlocked. So in order to expand, you have to come to a new greenfield project to create a port surrounded by thousands of acres within which you can put the value-added zone. So what we are saying, to take part in this global project, you have to have a gateway port, not a transshipment port. But let me now move quickly. This is a famous goat island. Any other citizen here? Yes, and I identify with it. Well, here is the little kid and the mother goat. Little Goat Island, Big Goat Island. And this is the Helsha Hills, for many people don't know. Goat Island is actually in St. Catherine. Many Jamaicans don't actually know. Here is a part of St. Catherine. This is the bay, and here is the Vernon Field Airport. So the real proposition for Jamaica, how in a sustainable way could it build a port facility, integrate into the airport that can accommodate the largest cargo aircraft?